Yeah, that's another issue. We learned this American got shot 4 times in the head. You've got all these other aid ships coming in. The Turks are now saying they're going to at least break ties with Israel, and they've now confirmed they are sending in warships. And the Prime Minister, like we have that clip, it's up on InfoWars and Prison Planet, it's in Turkish, but he just said, we're now basically your enemy, Israel, and you're a bunch of liars, and we're sick of your lies. So, the whole world is really turning against Israel.
And I want to, most of you people don't know this because you're younger, and I'm older, and the Turks are renowned as fighters. Maybe the Israeli Defense Force is very, very good, but I certainly wouldn't want to tangle with them. And when we had the Korean conflict, as it was called, and it was run by the UN, so that the enemy knew everything we were going to do, until MacArthur said, well, I've had enough of that, and made the Incheon landing, and just absolutely destroyed the Chinese and the North Koreans. But every time they would send Americans into the line, they would put the Australians on one side of them and the Turks on the other. And both of them were very, very anxious and adept at putting their bayonets on their rifles and going after the enemy. And the Turks have to draw blood. And if they can't get somebody to draw blood on, it's their own. And so they're quite ferocious people when it comes to warfare.
Well, that's because it was Constantinople and was a constant scene of warfare for thousands of years, then the heart of the Ottoman Empire. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, as Turkey and Israel collide towards confrontation. The North Korean peninsula is heating up. Their ambassador is saying, get ready for war. We'll discuss it all on the other side with Bob Chapman. A Romanian journalist that gave us incredible video and photos from Bilderberg Group 2007, speaking of Turkey, in Istanbul. Just amazing footage and photos. He just sent us a bunch of photos that are going up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com in the next 20 minutes. He'll be joining us in the last 30 minutes today. Nigel Farage, who narrowly survived that plane crash on Election Day, the head of the UK Independence Party, will be joining us. Member of the European Union Parliament, to talk about a host of issues. But going back to Bob Chapman, Bob, looking at this Israel situation, I even had former Mossad spy master on yesterday to get his take. Even this guy, of course, he was in the Washington Post criticizing the raid, calling it so stupid, it's stupefying, saying, what is Israel thinking? Any way you cut it, men coming into a ship at night in international waters, shooting an American 4 times in the head. I mean, Israel has been supported by this country. It's been seen as the underdog when the Arabs attacked it over and over again, but they're really losing that underdog status. But Israel's not going anywhere. That's the thing. They're saying, we got 400 nukes, and we don't care what the world says. And now neocons in the U.S. are saying, in the New York Times, well, we may just have to nuke. Israel may just nuke Iran first. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, is Israel going to start World War III?
Could very well be. And I don't think they do much of anything without consulting the people who run things out of New York and London, and particularly in this case, New York and Washington. And I think that in order to go ahead with such an operation, and it really was very poorly planned, I think they were looking for an excuse to get a war started. And, of course, the Turkish ships come in with the aid ships, and Israel decides to fire on them. You got a third world war going. It's really as simple as that. I mean, we had First World War, Archduke Ferdinand get assassinated. All it took was one bullet, and the game was on.
And the U.S. got brought into World War I by the sinking of the Lusitania, running the German U-boat blockade.
Loaded with munitions, with people upstairs. and so these things just don't happen. They're planned. And we've seen a succession of events that could be called either false flag or leading events. And I think that's what this Israel thing could very well be, because I think that they're ready to go ahead with their war. If not, they're close to it. And I've been talking about it for a long time, but never putting a date on it because I didn't know. But this indicates to me that the possibility this could be a catalytic event. And
well, Victor
we've got
Ostrovsky,
a terrible situation going on in Europe, and it's not going to get better; it's going to get worse.
Well, Victor Ostrovsky, basically agreed with you yesterday, saying governments, when they're in trouble, like to start wars, and every time you've got a global meltdown, there's a new war. And Israel's got all these scandals going right now in the Knesset, and so does the Mossad chief, and so does Netanyahu. And so, yeah, they may just want to start a war as a diversion, like Clinton sending cruise missiles into an African aspirin factory.
Yeah, exactly. And, they might have called up Washington and said, hey, look, we got all these problems going on, and explained them. And Washington and New York probably said, well, we understand that, so let's get the war on. I mean, you got all these problems in Europe. The Austrian president didn't attend the Bilderberger meeting. They may be getting set to front run and default. I mean, we don't even know. And we've got 5 other countries there that are up for grabs as far as devaluation or leaving the euro or defaulting.
What did you make of the British? Because you talked about it a few months ago. You said, look to England to try to scuttle Europe. I mean, is that good advice that top British companies are giving Greece? And now they're even telling Spain, hey, just go ahead and default?
Right. And I think that is part of the opening salvo on the part of England to try to resurrect itself. And they're in just a monstrous trouble. And the way for them to get out is they don't belong to the Eurozone, for those of you who don't know. They have their pound, which is their currency, but they belong to the European Union. And I think, and I projected this before, a way for England to try to begin to escape this lock that they've been thrown into would be to start getting their industries going again and start rebuilding manufacturing-wise. In order to do that, they're going to have to leave the EU because they're going to have to leave the World Trade Organization.
All right, stay there. We got to go to break. I want to come back and get into the economy here at home.